Transitioning from industrialized pet food to the BARF diet may seem challenging, but it doesn't have to cause digestive issues. In this video, you will learn the step-by-step process to adapt dogs and cats in a gradual, safe, and balanced way, avoiding diarrhea, vomiting, and food refusals. More health, energy, and vitality for your pet start with food. Watch until the end and see how to transform your dog or cat's routine with a smooth transition without scares. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel. The transition from industrialized food, such as dry or wet food, to the BARF diet, biologically appropriate raw food, is one of the most important moments for those who decide to offer their dog or cat real nutrition based on fresh, raw, and balanced ingredients. But it is also a delicate moment which requires knowledge, patience, and strategy. Making this change without a plan can result in digestive issues such as diarrhea, vomiting, excessive gas, and even food refusal. Therefore, understanding the animal's digestive mechanisms and the correct steps of adaptation is essential for long-term success. When a dog or cat spends years consuming kibble, its digestive system gets used to always receiving the same processed ingredients, low in moisture and with a high concentration of carbohydrates. The pancreas, for example, adapts to producing enzymes in specific proportions to deal with starch, oxidized fats, and proteins already denatured by the heat of industrial extrusion. By suddenly switching to raw meat, fleshy bones, and fresh offal, the body must relearn how to produce natural enzymes in adequate amounts. It is as if the body was reactivated to function the way it was designed, but this takes time and can generate instability if done abruptly. The first point is to understand that the transition is not a race, but a gradual process. Each animal has its own rhythm, depending on age, health, history, digestive sensitivity, and even the stress of the environment in which it lives. Puppies, for example, usually adapt much faster to the BARF diet as the metabolism is still developing and the dietary diversity does not make as much of an impact. Elderly dogs or cats that have spent more than 10 years on food tend to have more resistance, both physical and behavioral. Therefore, the strategy must be adapted to the profile of each pet. The second essential point is to respect the introduction of food in stages. You should not offer a complete menu with meat, bones, offal, vegetables, and fruits right from the start. The ideal is to start only with easily digestible muscle meats, such as chicken or turkey, in raw cuts and without seasonings. These ingredients provide high-quality protein and allow the animal's body to begin to adapt to the texture, humidity, and the presence of beneficial bacteria that stimulate the intestinal immune system. The balance of the intestinal flora, known as the microbiota, is one of the keys to the success of the transition. Another fundamental point is to observe the rhythm of the stool. The color, consistency, and odor say a lot about how the adaptation is occurring. In the first few days, it is common for the poop to be softer or smell different, as the intestine is readjusting the production of enzymes and making better use of nutrients. But persistent diarrhea, mucus stools, or the presence of blood indicate that the change was too fast or that some ingredient is not being well accepted. In these cases, the recommendation is to go back to the previous step, offering only lean meat until the system stabilizes. Hydration is also worth mentioning. Animals fed dry food usually drink a lot of water, as the food is extremely dehydrated. The BARF diet, on the other hand, rich in natural moisture, drastically reduces the need for water intake. It is common for owners to be scared thinking that the pet has stopped drinking, but in fact, it is receiving liquids directly from food. This, in addition to protecting the kidneys and liver, improves skin elasticity and overall health. Still, fresh water should always be available. The pace of the transition can vary between 7 days and up to 2 months, depending on the animal. A widely used strategy is the gradual ratio. Start with 75% feed and 25% raw meat, then reduce to 50% feed and 50% BARF until you reach 100% natural. Another strategy, recommended for very sensitive animals, is the slow replacement meal by meal, keeping one part of the day with feed and another with BARF. Young and healthy dogs and cats can, under veterinary guidance, perform the so-called direct transition, completely replacing the food with BARF at once. But this method requires extra attention and strict monitoring of the animal's feces, appetite, and energy. It is essential to remember that each organism is unique. No two dogs or two cats are the same, even within the same breed. One can adapt quickly to beef, while another has gas or refuses. One may accept viscera early on, while another needs weeks to tolerate liver or kidney. The tutor must become a careful observer of the animal itself, noting reactions, changes in behavior, and digestive changes. This close monitoring is what guarantees not only health during the transition, but also the confidence that the chosen path is the right one. Finally, an essential warning. The supervision of a veterinarian specialized in natural nutrition is indispensable. The transition to BARF should not be made solely based on internet information or random advice from forums. A specialist will be able to adjust amounts, proportions, and even indicate probiotics or digestive enzymes when necessary. This monitoring reduces risks, accelerates adaptation, and ensures that the animal not only survives the change, but flourishes with it. The transition from feed to BARF is not just a menu change. It is a change of life, which requires care, patience, and responsibility. But when done right, the benefits outweigh any initial difficulties. Renewed energy, strengthened immunity, shiny coat, and most importantly, a digestive system working in harmony with the animal's nature. The secret is not to rush the process, and to understand that each step of adaptation is a step towards a healthier and more balanced life. The middle stage of the transition is where most tutors face the biggest challenges. This is because, after the first few days of introducing muscle meat, the time comes to expand the menu with raw, fleshy bones and small portions of viscera. It is precisely at this point that the animal's digestive system is most tested, as it starts to deal with different fibers, natural fats, and a microbiota that transforms quickly. This is also where many make the mistake of speeding up the process, offering too much variety in a short time. Raw, fleshy bones are indispensable for nutritional balance in the BARF diet. They provide calcium and phosphorus in optimal proportions, as well as collagen, minerals, and a texture that promotes mechanical cleaning of the teeth. However, they must be chosen very carefully. The owner should prioritize large, non-hollow bones that do not chip easily. Chicken necks, wings, carcasses, meaty ribs, or beef knees are all safe options. Cooked bones should never be offered, as they fragment into dangerous splinters that can perforate the digestive tract. In the beginning, the amount should be small and always accompanied by meat to facilitate digestion. The viscera are another delicate point. They are rich in vitamins, minerals, and enzymes, but they also have strong fats and odors that can cause intestinal rejection or derangement if offered in excess. Liver, for example, is a natural superfood, but it should only make up about 5% of the diet. The recommendation in the initial phase is to introduce viscera in minimal quantities, such as small cubes mixed with the meat, always observing the animal's reaction. If there is diarrhea or refusal, it is best to reduce and try again days later. At this stage, many tutors are faced with firmer or even crumbly stools, a result of the calcium present in the bones. This is expected and does not pose a problem as long as there is no overexertion or severe constipation. The balance between flesh and bone is key to maintaining the proper consistency. A rule of thumb is to observe. Very soft stools ask for more bone, very hard stools ask for more meat. This simple adjustment helps maintain healthy intestinal transit and prevents discomfort. Another important factor in this stage is the introduction of vegetables and fruits. Although dogs and cats are carnivores, small portions of raw and crushed vegetables can enrich the diet with fiber, antioxidants, and vitamins. Carrots, zucchini, pumpkin apples, and leafy greens are all good options. Grinding is indispensable because the digestive system of these animals cannot break through the plant cell wall efficiently. The amount, however, must be controlled. Around 5 to 10% of the total meal. It is an add-on, not the base. Natural supplementation can also be evaluated at this stage. The use of probiotics helps balance the intestinal flora, while digestive enzymes can reduce discomfort in more sensitive animals. Some owners choose to add kefir or lactose-free natural yogurt in small amounts, but this should be discussed with the veterinarian, as not all animals tolerate dairy products. Fish oil, rich in omega-3, is also a great ally, but it must be used judiciously to avoid excess fat. The most common digestive problems during the middle phase are gas, mild diarrhea, and whitish stools. Most of the time, these symptoms disappear within a few days, as the body finds balance. The owner must remain calm and resist the temptation to completely change the diet at the first sign of discomfort. Patience is what turns adaptation into success. Sudden changes, on the contrary, prolong the process and increase the chances of rejection. Another point that deserves attention is behavior. Many dogs demonstrate renewed energy and a more intense appetite, which can lead to episodes of food anxiety. It is important to maintain routine schedules and not give in to out-of-turn requests, as this helps the body to adapt. Cats, on the other hand, may react in the opposite way, becoming selective or refusing new foods. In these cases, the secret is to persist, offering small portions and respecting the animal's time. You should never force or mix condiments to deceive the pet, as this can be harmful. At this stage, it is essential to understand that adaptation is not only physiological, but also behavioral. The animal is learning to deal with new flavors, textures, and smells. Many who have lived for years on feed find raw meat strange at first, but persistence, the example of other animals and the way it is presented, can help. Cutting the meat into small cubes, offering smaller bones, and discreetly varying the options are effective strategies. The main message of the intermediate phase is balance, neither haste nor fear. The body needs this time to recover its full digestive and immune capacity. The tutor, in turn, needs to understand that each reaction is a learning stage. When well conducted, the transition not only avoids digestive problems, but strengthens the relationship between the tutor and the animal based on care, observation, and respect for its biological nature. The final phase of the transition is the most rewarding. After weeks of adaptation, in which muscle meats, raw fleshy bones, offal, vegetables, and small fruits were gradually included, the body of the dog or cat begins to operate in full harmony with the new diet. It is here that the gut microbiota stabilizes, the body adjusts to the appropriate enzyme production, and that owners clearly perceive the benefits of natural food. But even at this stage, care is still needed to avoid digestive relapses. The first sign that the transition was successful is the regularity of the stool. They now have a smaller volume, firm consistency, and less intense odor as a result of better use of nutrients and the reduction of artificial additives. This is an indication that the digestive system is balanced. Still, sudden changes in the menu, such as introducing new proteins in large quantities, can cause disturbances. Therefore, the variety should continue to be introduced gradually, one protein at a time, with careful observation of behavior and feces. Food diversity is key at this stage. Each animal protein offers a unique profile of amino acids, fats, and micronutrients. Rotating between chicken, beef, lamb, fish, and turkey, for example, ensures a broader nutritional spectrum and reduces the risk of intolerances. For cats, including cold water fish in small amounts can provide natural omega-3, important for the cardiovascular system and for the health of the skin and coat. The secret lies in the planned rotation, always maintaining a stable base and introducing new things calmly. Another relevant aspect is the monitoring of general health. The tutor must observe the animal's coat, eyes, energy, breath, and even body odor. With a balanced BARF diet, it is common to notice shinier hair, healthy skin, reduction of tartar on the teeth, and more physical disposition. On the other hand, signs such as apathy, intense itching, abrupt weight loss, or constantly irregular stools indicate that something is not well balanced. In these cases, consultation with a specialized veterinarian is indispensable to adjust proportions or investigate food allergies. In the long term, some supplements can be included to further enrich the diet. Quality fish oil provides essential fatty acids. Raw, whole, and fresh eggs can be offered once or twice a week, including the crushed shell, as a source of natural calcium. Turmeric and ginger in small amounts can have anti-inflammatory benefits, but each inclusion should be discussed with the veterinarian, as excess or mismatch can compromise the balance achieved. A crucial point is the discipline of the tutor. The temptation to vary too much or offer leftover human food can generate serious digestive disorders. Salt, spices, onions, garlic, chocolate, grapes, and other foods common in the human diet are toxic to dogs and cats. The BARF diet must remain clean, raw, and balanced without external interference. The responsibility of the tutor is to understand that the animal's health depends directly on the choices made every day. The transition also teaches something valuable, that patience and observation are just as important as the food itself. The tutor, who respects the animal's signals, adjusts the menu according to the body's response, and maintains a consistent routine, manages not only to avoid digestive problems, but also to provide longevity and quality of life. It is common for dogs and cats, after a few months of BARF, to show more vitality, willingness to play, less body odors, and even a more balanced temperament, a direct reflection of a nutrition that speaks to their biology. Finally, it is important to understand that the transition is not an isolated event, but the beginning of a journey. Offering BARF is to commit to a diet closer to nature, which requires study, dedication, and continuous monitoring. The tutor who understands this is no longer just someone who feeds and becomes the guardian of the health and well-being of his animal. Avoiding digestive problems is not just a matter of menu, but of strategy. It is walking in stages, respecting limits, learning from each reaction. When done correctly, the result is a healthier animal, with a strengthened immune system and an even deeper bond with its owner. At each meal, not only the body is reinforced, but mutual trust, because food is no longer just nutrition and becomes care, respect, and love translated into conscious choices. The transition from feed to BARF, when done with patience and proper monitoring, not only avoids digestive problems, it transforms the animal's life. And, for the tutor, it brings the certainty of offering what is closest to natural, alive, fresh, and biologically appropriate food, which gives back to the dog or cat what industrialized food could never give: true health.